Back then, you know, the school was only 30 years old, 33 years old, and so it was a lot easier to get in. I'm not sure that I could get in today. But when I came on campus, I'd gone to a small school, so being in a small area in a small school wasn't really an issue for me. It wasn't a surprise. I had difficulty with one of the classes with George Allen Scott, which many others had difficulty with that because he took off for spelling, not -1 for spelling, it's totally wrong for spelling. And I think I made 12 on my first test out of 100. And so it's hard to overcome that. But it was not because I didn't know the information, because I couldn't spell. Now I understand why he was trying to do that. He didn't want us to send a letter to a physician referring a patient with all kinds of misspelled words in it. So I understand the concept behind it now. I didn't then. But it cost me an extra year. We really didn't have a pediatrics department. We had a VT clinic, and we did see some developmental exams when they were referred in, but the bulk of the examination was done in the main clinic. Remember, we were in this smaller clinic here in the front, and we didn't have access. When we built this building, we moved into the VT service, and I don't remember the year, but it wasn't long after that before we started a pediatric service. What got me interested in pediatrics was even in the old building, many will remember Dr. Harvey Brown, who was chair of the VT section. We didn't have chiefs back then, but he ran the VT section, came up to me one day and said, "How would you like to go to Gazelle?" I've been on the faculty maybe 6 months. And I said, "Where's that?" He said, "Yale." And being the redneck that I am, I said, "Where's that?" And then we got to talking about it, and we decided that would be a good fit for me. And Al Fors and I went together, and that's why you see our names paired together so much. They had one fellowship. Keep in mind, this was before optometric residencies. They had one fellowship offered at Gazelle, and SCO said, "We will pay for a second one, but for this year, both of them will have to come from SCO." So Al was one, I was the other. And throughout the course of that year, it was really, really a wonderful year. I got to work with the people that followed Gazelle. Dr. Francis Ilge, Dr. Louise Bates Ames. They wrote many of the books after he had retired and passed away. But to see them every day and to work with them every day was just an incredible experience. I became more the clinician, Al became more the teacher. So when we got back, he taught the courses. And I was in the clinic, and eventually we put in a proposal to have a pediatric clinic. And then when we moved into what was then the new clinic in 2002, pediatrics was upstairs on the second level, and VT was down in the lower level. And they asked me, "Which one do you want to be chief of?" Because there was a joint position. And I think I surprised them when I said, "I think I would prefer pediatrics," because we were just starting InfantSEE about that time. And I said, "Pediatrics." And so then they had to find somebody to be VT chief. If I could wave a wand over the next 53 years, one of the things I would like to see is a return, because in the general practice of optometry, we've sort of migrated away from seeing kids. And the problem there is you don't identify what the problems might be until they're much older. It's not unusual for us to see, any optometrist, to see a 16-year-old coming in has failed his vision part of his driver's test, first exam he's ever had. We should have known about that and identified that earlier and earlier. So many of the kids that we see, if we identify them early, we can redirect their development, restore their function, and get them back on track. So I would like to see a renewed interest in that. That's what the first goal, the first step in InfantSEE was, to identify them during the first year of life. But now we need to see them followed on through their life, because problems are not just there from birth. They happen at 3 years of age, they happen at 5 years of age, they happen in school, and we need to have a progression of seeing those babies on a regular, periodic, professional exam. So that's the kind of thing I would like to see. Identify early and provide intervention at those early stages. What are my plans for the next several years? Well, right now it's August, and I have 6 more lectures to do between now and the end of the year. 3 of them are virtual, 2 for Nepal, 1 for South Africa, and then 1 for Tennessee Association, 1 for the Academy, and then I'm doing a seminar in Kansas, a Children Vision and Learning seminar in Kansas. So that's 6 until now and the end of the year. I've submitted lectures, and I hope to do that because I think I do have some things to offer in regard to children, in regard to development. I like consulting with organizations such as the AOA, with SCO, and I did a webinar in June for World Council of Optometry with an optometrist from Uganda. And so I want to continue spreading the word about what we do. I've got my office at home set up with monitors and camera, and it's all set up to do virtual lectures. So I probably will do more of those, particularly international lectures, instead of traveling to do that. But my wife has also challenged me to write a book. She says you need to take all that information that's in your head and put it down on paper. So I've started doing some of those kinds of things, just writing a little paper a day or two and then add to it later. If they learned anything, what would that be? Just look. That I named the retinoscopy technique. It's not something that I developed, but I've elaborated on some of the techniques there, and I call it just look. And why do I call it just look? Because I'd say, go in and do near retinoscopy, and students would say, what am I looking for? And I'd say, just look. And then say, well, what am I supposed to see? I say, just look. And the whole idea is, if I tell you what to look for, then you're going to focus on that, and you're going to miss something else that might be there. So just watch what's happening. If you're doing something as simple as just an eye movement on a test, on a patient, just look. Watch what they're doing. Use your observational skills. It's not just a test. It's how is that child prepared now to do what's expected of them, whether it's go into a classroom, whether it's preparing them to be an adult and go into a job. Those things start early. Vision is such an important part of overall development.